UFC 324. This was a treat indeed. So we'll start off with Ateba Gautier versus Andre. I don't even know who he is. Pulayev from Russia. So Ateba, we need to see higher competition. He looks good, but not as good as I would have liked to see. I'd love to see him, versus a ranked opponent this next fight. Somewhere maybe a Marvin Vittori, maybe a Jack Hermanson, something along those lines, to see how he lasts versus those higher up levels of competition in the middleweight division. But yeah, overall, still a good fight. Still cashed in the check. So can't be mad at it. Next, we have Umar Nurmagomedov versus Davison Figueiredo. Massive underdog. Pretty much exactly, what you would expect. They're just giving Umar, who in their mind has no chance to beat him. And, Umar just laid on him. Kind of a snoozer. Nothing to write home about by any means. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, where the UFC goes with regards to Umar and Suga for the Bantam, next title shot with Jan. But that's to be continued, I suppose. Next, we have Arnold Allen versus Gene Silva. Crazy scrap. Very enjoyable to watch. Maybe my second favorite fight on the card, if not the best. Arnold Allen was just talking with my buddy Kai about this. Arnold is maybe the most underrated in the entire sport in regards to just skill, toughness. He's a very high-level fighter. But Gene, we all know how good Gene is. He definitely has the tools to be a champ, I think if him and Diego rematch, I do think that fight goes a different way, actually. So, Gene, potentially future champ, squeaks out a decision. It's essentially exactly the way I thought it would go. Next, we have... No, I'm not even going to talk about that one. Next, I'll get on to the Suga fight. So, Suga didn't look great, man, versus Song Yudong. He did not look great, but, still eked out a decision. A lot of people were saying robbery. I didn't necessarily see a robbery, but nonetheless, it was extremely close. Suga's known for these ultra tight decisions that tend to go his way, to say the least. Cough Piotr. But yeah, overall, he looked good in the third round. He did look like he was starting to ease into it a little more. Song's a quick guy, strong. Song had a really good second round, but Suga started really coming alive in the third and was popping him. He was doing his pop move, and he was really starting to lay it on him. So, great performance overall from both guys. It'll be interesting to see where both of them go from here. I heard rumors of Suga versus Sandhagen on the White House lawn in June. I think that would be tremendous, but we'll have to see. That's a fight the hardcores have been wanting to see for a long, long time. Now, on to the main event. Patty versus Gaethje. This is one of those where I wish I stuck to my gut. The odds makers scared me when they had Gaethje plus 200, Patty minus 240. Initially, if I were writing the lines, I would have probably had Patty still favored, maybe minus 160, minus 170. But, I mean, as we heard 60 times over the fight week, Gaethje's 9-2 as an underdog. He's a tough bastard. When he was in there last night, I was just thinking, that's one angry, violent old man. I mean, it was a badass performance. I thought Trevor Whitman had a great game plan when he didn't throw any leg kicks, didn't want to risk, any of those being caught and taken down. Because if that fight did get to the ground, where Gaethje wasn't just in the front headlock position, it would have been probably wraps. Because Patty's jiu-jitsu is very, very high level. So, great game plan with the boxing heavy approach, as well as I think Patty, really thought he was going to be able to walk in there and keep things at range. He said that multiple times in the fight week. He thought he clearly had a striking camp, which I don't necessarily think was the best thing. I mean, he clearly has the advantage in the grappling, not the wrestling, but when it actually is on the ground. So maybe he should have put his ego to the side a little bit there and focus more on grappling and getting the fight to the ground, actually. But regardless, I mean, he really thought he was going to be able to keep the fight at range. They kept saying that all week, like he wasn't going to get hit. He was just going to keep it at range, piece him up, and knock out Gaethje. When Trevor Whitman and Gaethje had the perfect game plan to counteract that. No kicks, no chance of it going to the ground, just pure boxing and staying on the center line, not Mike Tyson in it and going off the center line side to side. He stayed on the center line and walked forward. I don't think he respected Patty's power either. It was a pretty badass moment, but he was smiling when Patty was throwing a lot of these strikes in the first round, which was pretty cool to see. But he clearly didn't respect the power, and his mindset was pretty much, I'm just gonna walk this guy down and just throw massive hooks, and it worked. He essentially just walked forward the entire fight and threw hooks. He's got a nasty uppercut. He usually drops someone every fight with that first uppercut. I thought it was cool to see him go take Pimblett down as well. I mean, not a true takedown. It wasn't like a double leg or anything, but take him to the ground at least and use that unique front headlock position where he could, throw some pitter-patter shots to the side of Patty's head and the side of his ribs and all that, while keeping his legs safe and not engaging in any grappling. So I also enjoyed him putting him up against the fence. That was something we didn't think was going to happen, but I think a lot of that pressure that he put on him in that front headlock position, they were in there for a long time, actually did weigh on Patty a little bit. But, I mean, regardless, Patty was in great shape. Wink, wink. I mean, I don't know how he goes from gassing out to Tony Ferguson at 40 to looking like he's ready, he's fresh in round 5 versus Gaethje. We all know what it is. But regardless, obviously his Patty's chin is absolutely insane. Patty's kicks looked great like usual. it did seem like when they got in firefights, when they were fighting in the phone booth, he resorted back to his old ways where sticks his chin up in the air, doesn't have his hands up. He's not really focusing on defense. It sort of looked exactly like how the Jared Gordon fight was when they got in those phone booth fights with Gaethje bringing the pressure forward. Gaethje's chin was great. Didn't have a hint of being wobbled, nothing like that. But yeah, Patty's cardio was great. His toughness is great. Obviously, he has the mental fortitude. He's a real tough guy. He has a crazy chin. I don't know how he was eating all those shots. I mean, even Tony Ferguson prime Tony Ferguson might not have been able to eat all those. I mean, Patty's chin, he is a tough bastard. There's no two ways about it. I mean, we saw in 2020 Gaethje get Ferguson out of there with a similar performance, and Patty looked like he fell off a train, but he was in there till the end, and he was still bringing the fight to him till the last second, so you got to respect it. But I do think he's getting overblown a little bit about. I think this is common in MMA. You see this when you see fights like Topuria, Emmett, Patty, Gaethje, these beatdowns. Cheeto, Sugar, too, was another one where these guys go out and have a terrible performance, but they're just tough. And they get, I think, a little bit too much praise. I think Patty's toughness needs to be commended, but overall, it was not a good performance. I mean, Gaethje did make him look like an amateur. He got dropped. The third round, Patty won, and that was a great round for him. But, outside of that, he was getting dropped every round. And I didn't even think this is the best version of Gaethje. Me and Kyle were talking about this the other day, too. I think that Gaethje in the first Fiziev fight when he was about 34 versus now he's 37, almost 38. That Gaethje fought Fiziev in the first fight had essentially the same skill set that he has now, but just was a little younger, a little fresher. He still might have had staph. I mean, we all saw what was on his neck. I don't think that was necessarily the best version of Gaethje, and he still made it look dominant. So I do think Patty, has a lot of work to do if he wants to work his way back up to try and be champ. He's definitely not going to beat, Oliveira, Holloway. I can't even imagine what Holloway would do to him. He's not being Norman. He's not being Topuria. So maybe he's the next guy after that. But I'd be really interested to see how the BSD Hooker fight goes this weekend. And I'd be interested to see the winner of that face Patty next. I think that'd be a good mid-level, right around that 5-6 rank. Just to really test his level, and that's also a winnable fight. But it wouldn't be easy. There's a chance, someone like BSD or Hooker could go out there and get it done versus him. Hooker maybe not as much because the grappling. I could see Patty taking him down, subbing him, but BSD would be a very, very, very interesting fight. I think in a lot of ways that they're similar. They're probably the closest version of themselves in the division. They're the most similar. They both have good grappling. Patty has a way better chin. He's way tougher, but same kind of sloppy-ish striking. Patty's is probably a little better. But BSD's big. I mean, he's They probably are about the same size. So I'd be really interested to see that, to see if the counter grappling works, or if they counter each other out, or if one has the advantage. It'd be interesting to see. So yeah, that's my take essentially. Next for Patty, I'd like to see, like I said, BSD Hooker. The winner of that would be great for him. And then in regards to Gaethje, the I mean, I'm a little bit more excited to see it now. But I mean, it'll be a crazy scenario if somehow Taporia isn't ready and he gets stripped and Gaethje's the undisputed. That'd be pretty funny. But in all likelihood, he'll fight Taporia probably on the White House. And man, that is just gonna be that's gonna be one where you're kind of wincing at the screen. You're like, I want to see this, but like, dude, this is like Gaethje's gonna have a lot of trouble, So it'll be interesting though to see if, I mean, Gaethje definitely has a good chin, but the problem is with Taporia, it just doesn't matter. I mean, you knock out people like Volk and Max, you can pretty much, or you can knock out anyone. So, but who knows? Maybe Gaethje could catch him with one of those quick short right hand uppercuts he likes to get people with, and Taporia might not see it, that kind of thing, and he could drop him. But man, I wouldn't bet on it. I think it's going to be a decapitation, to be honest. If I were setting the lines right now, I know from previous times, Patty and Taporia, they had the future line at Patty plus, I think, 500, something like that, plus 470. And Ilya was minus 650 versus him. So it's not, if that's the case, and Patty was minus 240 versus Gaethje. I mean, even though MMA math doesn't always add up, they had that line out beforehand. So I would imagine the line's going to be somewhere between minus 800, minus 850. Taporia is what my guess is. But dude, if I were drawing the line, I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable, but I'd probably do minus 1100, like similar to Moicano, Islam line, that kind of thing. So yeah, man, that's my breakdown of the UFC 324 card. I've been watching for a long time, very knowledgeable about the sport in general, and if you made it to the end, I appreciate it and hope you enjoyed. So we'll see you next time. Take care.